Okay, there's this clip of Triple H from Andrew Shultz's podcast that I wanted to check out.
The internet's not real life. Complaining that is on there. It's not real life.
The internet's not real. That means I'm not real. Is any of this real? Oh no, Triple H! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Assemble. My name is Matt. So I wanted to kind of break down this podcast and some of the moments and segments. Triple H was talking to Andrew Shultz on the Flagrant podcast, Flagrant show. His one point here regarding that the internet is not real is really talking about how it's a very loud echo chamber that doesn't reflect what they're experiencing on a weekly basis in the live crowds, the live audience. Cody being the example. And I know I've talked about it. I know there's a bajillion people out there that have talked about whether they like Cody or don't like Cody or what's working, what's not, his run as champion, all of these things in here. The great thing I will say beforehand is that with pro wrestling, it's really fun, and part of the fun, I think, is being able to kind of deep dive and dissect and break down, well, why do we feel like this is working for this character? Why do we feel it is not working? I tend to agree with Triple H here that you go to a live show or you're just watching it, you're watching Raw or SmackDown, and Cody comes out and everyone does the whoa, everyone is off on their feet, they're chanting, they're cheering, they're going crazy for him. Like he said, he sells the top merch, the most merch in the company. He brought that point up a lot too, which for obvious reasons, merchandise is revenue for the company, and it's a big indicator of the popularity of a superstar. Thus, that person, that superstar, probably gets more opportunities based on their level of popularity. Jey Uso is another example he brought up, making the comment of the internet saying that Jey Uso is terrible, and he's looking at, from obvious reasons, the business side of it, that Jay's popularity is immense. And yeah, when you see it live or you are there live, everybody in the audience is going crazy and bananas for it, for his entrance, for his theme song, to see him. They yeet with him throughout the promo. His merchandise, he's the top merch seller. So all of that, I understand, and I do understand where he's coming from. Because I will agree too that there's so much noise on the internet, and I'm on the internet, so it's like, what are you talking about here, dummy? But the amount of negativity that we all kind of hear and are exposed to, whether it's wrestling or not, but we're exposed to so much negativity. This is why this is bad. This is why this isn't working. This is why this person shouldn't be in this spot. Why is this person not being pushed and this person is? And he talks about it in the interview of all the reasons why, why a superstar is going to be lined up, or some of the reasons why they will line up certain creative decisions. However, I do see the other side where a lot of what I think fans, and I'll speak for myself, are talking about is not necessarily that we don't like Cody, for example, as a babyface. Cody is a great babyface. He's a great babyface champion, and even Triple H says in the interview how creating a top babyface is extremely hard to do. And I agree, because I watched Cody for the last 2 years and it's been yeah. And when my attitude is that the top guy, the top good guy in the company, the poster boy, I'm kind of lukewarm on him. There could be a variety of reasons of why it's not working for me. For me, it's not him, it's not Cody, it's the creative behind it. And in this interview, Paul Levesque even talks about it, where we need bad guys. You need really strong, captivating bad guys to go after the babyface, to bring him down, to try to take him down. And the babyface makes the comeback, and he ultimately wins. Good guy wins most of the time. I think that is where maybe some fans have felt this waning of Cody that we're kind of talking about here right now, of why it's not kind of working. It's on the creative side. Cody's really good in ring. He can cut a great promo. He's over with the fans, all of that stuff. I think it's a lot to do with the other half for me, because I'm watching the Cody build and the Cody year-long arc that we've had, and just some of the creative is just not there as I watch WWE content every week. And I think he nails it, where it's not so much Cody, it's the bad guys. I'm looking for really strong, captivating bad guys to thwart the babyface. But of course, what's interesting nowadays is, and this has kind of always been true, right? Especially since the Attitude Era with Austin, really cool bad guys get over. He talks about how CM Punk is kind of, you know, he's an anti-hero. He's not really a babyface, so he gets really, really over. I think Drew McIntyre is another example of this. Drew has been like a straightforward good guy before. He pivots to being a bad guy, and then Drew gets, because he's really good at what he does, he gets over with the crowd, and large segments of the audience still really like Drew, even when he does really, you know, traditionally bad, mean things to the good guy. I still like to cheer for Drew McIntyre. Jacob Fatu, he's still a bad guy. He's put up against other good guys, and Fatu gets crazy reactions. He does big moonsaults to the good guy, and the crowd cheers one more time, and he does it so they pop even bigger. So I feel like there's a combination. It's very layered. There's a lot to it. It's not very cut and dry. But I do think in that interview on Flagrant that is what Triple H is talking about as well, is that the creative is not always going to be there, and then they just kind of move on. He talked about Jey Uso, like we mentioned, where he brings up the example of Jey Uso is, you know, he's terrible. He's not over the crowd.
Right. Jey Uso's terrible.
We're going into WrestleMania this week, and I am more excited about Jey Uso and what they are doing because of the beatdown segment and then the promo segment he did with Gunther. And you know what? Even Gunther's promo on Raw, where it's by himself, it all did a very good job to keep me hooked. Now, this next point, we can relate it with Jey Uso because he does kind of relate all of it together, that the aspect of being patient, storytelling, and needing things to play out. And now, fun fact, I see it in the comments all the time.
You need to let the story play out. You're not patient. You gotta wait and see how things are gonna happen before you just crap on everything.
Number one, Matt here is not crapping on anything. I'll talk about things I like and don't like, but it's constructive. It's okay, because it's not coming from a standpoint of like, I'm raging mad inside. That's insane. It's a TV show. And if you like that kind of thing, there's 1,000 channels that will go and entertain that thought process. So where Paul Levesque is talking about the storytelling aspect and that people need to be patient and let it play out, I do agree, and I'm guilty of this, where in my head, I want things to happen now. They should have done this, they should have done that. Let's focus on Jey here. The build for Jey Uso, winning the Rumble, challenging Gunther to where we are now, the story has been, at least on the internet, which just doesn't exist, isn't real, but at least on the internet, people are kind of like, oh, I'm tired of Jey. I don't like this. The story hasn't been good. And I said it for weeks as well. Jey won the Rumble. I'm like, hey, that was exciting. He eliminated John Cena. That's a huge moment. But coming out of it, the creative side of it wasn't clicking for me as a fan. It was going up against A-Town Down Under, and Gunther was beating up Tozawa, and Jey was interacting with them, and it felt very like lower the card when you have somebody who won the Royal Rumble and presumably was going to main event WrestleMania, which he's not. He's going to get a main event. So be it. But the story they were telling, it wasn't having a really good, intriguing flow to it, based, I think, on the popularity of the character and the position they were in. They won the Rumble. They're going for the title. That should be a big deal, and coming off of it should felt like we were going to get some big stuff from it. We did, but I don't always agree with the whole, hey, just be patient with it because it could turn around. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it just does not turn around. Did Charlotte and Tiffany turn around? Not really. It got bad. It got real bad. And they've kind of pivoted that a little bit, and it's still, I'm very intrigued to see how that match turns out. As a fan, I will sit there every week and just say, I want to see how this unfolds. They do a promo, they go back and forth with each other, maybe there's some attacks. And even if the creative isn't there, I still want to see what's going to happen next to see if they can recover or pivot or what they do. And they did that with Jey, and it got better. But I feel like it wasn't so much, we need to be patient because look at this big bloody beatdown they did 4 or 5 weeks later. See, we were right all along. You people just need to be patient on the internet. I don't think in that example, it's really about that. I think it's that the creative wasn't very captivating after the Royal Rumble, and he had several weeks to fill TV time, and the direction they were going in wasn't really clicking with maybe the live audience and definitely with the audience at home until they brought in Jimmy, and then they did that. And that's kind of the beauty of wrestling too, is they have these long weeks and stretches of time, good or bad, but that they can pivot. And Triple H mentions it in the interview, how if something isn't working, okay, well, let's steer it in this direction. Let's go this way. You can see that happen over and over again in WWE TV, where they will seemingly be going in one direction, and then they do something that's going to elevate it or escalate it, or, pull apart brawls and all of that. And they immediately get things a little bit more exciting. Look at last year with Cody and The Rock and Roman. Stuff happened in there. Whatever it was, stuff went on, and the plans, I think, got a little bit topsy-turvy. So they adjusted. You could tell they had to adjust because Cody won the Rumble, but then Rock came in and it was like, get out, brother. I'm in here now for the main event. Cody's like, okay. They pivoted and they reacted to what the crowd response was for Cody. And we got what we got at WrestleMania. And if you're The Rock or Triple H, you're gonna say, shut up and enjoy the ride. I gotta respectfully disagree with that point. The Rock has mentioned that a couple of times. Shut your mouth and enjoy the ride The Rock takes you on. And sometimes it sounds like, aha, it's in jest and it's just fun because it's The Rock and that's his thing. And you hear Triple H say it, and the more often you kind of hear it, sometimes it feels like that is their philosophy of just shut your mouth and just watch the show regardless of what happens, good and bad. Like, well, no, we invest in all this and these characters and all this stuff. We would like, yes, we will see how it goes because that's what happens. There is a process to it all. But it's when, I don't know, The Rock just shows up on the Raw episode of Netflix and he's been portrayed as this final boss character after WrestleMania, doing promos with Cody, having a tag team match at WrestleMania, all the involvement, everything we saw, and he just comes out and he's just Dwayne Johnson TKO guy, and then pivots in character to be final boss and pivots out of character again. He puts over Cody despite the last thing we had with Cody and Rock was a title swap on Raw, handing him something that was never divulged and they never touched it ever again. So as fans, you are going along for the ride. We went on the ride with The Rock for months to Mania, after Mania, and then the throat cut thing he did, the T something that never got paid off. So you get to Raw Netflix debut and you have a really clunky, odd, just in and out character segment with The Rock. And by their logic, they're like, well, just enjoy it because The Rock is 20 steps ahead and you won't see what's coming. Could it be true? Absolutely. Because they could have been looking ahead to say, don't worry about it. This all will make sense because at Elimination Chamber, John Cena's turning. Well, we kind of figured that that's not really what happened. We will never know because we're fans, but it's very probable that these things are not always planned out 6 months, 8 months in advance. Maybe they have an outline of where they want to go or where they want to end up, but the Cena thing, the Cena heel turn with The Rock involved, I don't believe that that would have been decided 4 or 5 months prior. Kind of feels like they had Cena coming back for a farewell tour. They got to the Rumble and then they figured we know where we want to go with this. And Cena's on board with turning heel. I think a lot of the feedback that WWE gets, a lot of the critiques about, hey, SmackDown isn't that exciting. Don't think it is. I will see other creators that will talk about this and say, yeah, SmackDown is dull, it's boring, it's long, 3 hours is too much for it. They're not doing anything very compelling. I have to agree sometimes. Sometimes it's really fun and it's breezy. But Raw feels like most weeks, like this big juggernaut of a show that's moving along and it's done in less than 3 hours and I feel satisfied and I got a lot of story out of it. And then I turn to SmackDown and it feels oddly different. It feels out of place. It feels kind of clunky. Not a lot of big story developments. Maybe that's just different writers, different creative, different shows. But what did you think of Triple H's whole segment here? I will close by saying the following. I think we do need to have more patience with it and the thing that we like. We don't have to always just yell profanities and everything about they should do this and they should do that. But I think we can do it in ways that are just kind of, they're more constructive. We can point out the things that we really like about Raw. And we could also point out aspects of the storyline that we are not totally in favor of, or we didn't think it really landed, with the understanding that that's okay because we're still going to see what happens next week and to see how the story continues, unfolds, and changes. Comment below your thoughts on the interview. There's a lot to like about pro wrestling and WWE in general. And if you want to find out more about why we like pro wrestling and stuff that nobody talks about, click this video right here and subscribe to the channel if you can, because our goal here is to get to 50,000 subs by WrestleMania, and I only got a few days left. Probably not going to hit it, but I appreciate your support. Have a great day. See ya.